Well, let me just make a, a comment. I love God goggles. I love that phrase. I really do. I'm gonna start using that as opposed to beer goggles. I want some God goggles. But so when I was watching your video, you were talking about plant medicine, and I love your perspective because a lot of people just run into the whole ayahuasca thing, and not really understanding that you're taking on the spirit of the plant itself and really communing with it, and it's opening you up and getting to the nitty gritty and exposing some stuff to heal and overcome. So if you could talk more about that, I'd love listening to that.
Sure. So I had the privilege of attending multiple ayahuasca ceremonies because of the interpreting volunteer work that I do. And you can't really participate in a ceremony unless you participate in the ceremony. So I had had curiosity about ayahuasca, absolute curiosity, and I wanted to go to a ceremony for me and myself. But what actually brought me into ceremony was that I was asked to interpret several ceremonies. And so we traveled to work with a shaman who was trained, who worked with initially, well, that's a whole other story. But we were working with a shaman in a very large ceremony. It was a full weekend, so two ceremonies: a Friday night ceremony, a Saturday night ceremony. And my very first journey, I traveled in a van with there were seven of us, I think, traveling down. Half of us staff, half of us interpreters. We all knew each other, and just amazing, amazing, wonderful, wonderful people. And they had all participated in ceremonies before, so I was hearing, the horrors of purging all the way down, and I was just like, what have you guys talked me into? What am I doing here? However, my experience with the medicine, and I say medicine, my experience with ayahuasca was, first of all, when I downed the first, full glass, the shaman said, "First time?" And I was like, "Yeah," but it kind of went down. I don't know if any of you remember, when I was a kid, my household was really, they were chocoholics. And there was this popular drink called Bosco that was like drinkable chocolate syrup. And my brother was a fanatic, a Bosco fanatic, and it was just like really, really thick but drinkable syrup. It was kind of like if you imagine drinking Hershey's syrup, though I would not like. As a kid, that was exciting to me, right? But now I wouldn't go anywhere near that. But so it went down kind of like Bosco, and then I had like, I was kind of like, okay, so we were instructed, of course, to go in with intent, and the shaman was holding the space. I feel like there were like 75 people present in that ceremony. It was a huge, huge group of people. And, I was sitting about 15, 20 people away from the shaman. Um, and we had to sit up, and we were going to be doing a keros. So we were going to be singing, and then it was just kind of like, now see what happens. And so I was drawing, and then I wrote down my intent, and my intent for that first ceremony was I wanted to understand why. I wanted to understand my experience growing up. I wanted to understand the human experience and why we were experiencing what we were experiencing planetarily, personally, planetarily, what was going on. I wanted to know why. And so immediately what happened for me when I started to feel the plant medicine, when I started to feel Mother Aya, I was having a conversation with her and I welcomed her into my body. And I was like, if I need to purge, if there's stuff I need to purge, I will happily purge. But more important to me is the message that I'm interested in. And so I'm going to attend to the best of my ability. And then the shaman appeared here for me. He appeared right here, even though he was sitting, just over there. He appeared here for me and he gave me some information about my parents. He let me know that I needed to spend as much time with my parents because they weren't going to be on the planet for very much longer, which was in fact the case. I had another few years with each of them, but not very long. And so that I took that to heart and it was incredibly helpful. And then from there, we sort of dove in. And when it was like we were diving in, and then with the Ikaros, with the singing of the chants, and he was a shaman that was heavily influenced by Hinduism. And so we were coming back, I was coming back and becoming present again out of the journeying into the present, with mantras and with song, which was incredibly grounding and helpful. He held the space. It was really amazing. It was really amazing. But in the journeys in, the first thing that I saw was really like that light field, right? Nothingness, blackness, nothing, just the blackness of space, no space or time, like just nothing. And then far off in the distance was this little itty bitty, I caught movement. And then the movement started to get bigger. And as it got bigger, what I realized, what I was seeing, at the same time that there was a part of me that was like, now I could go to sheer terror, but I could also just be present and not be about the history, not be about history. Because this being, I do not perceive as negative. I perceive this being as incredibly positive, as incredibly wonderful. And it was Grandmother Spider Woman. So when she came in closer, she got really, really, really big. And I don't mean just like bigger than me. I mean like I don't like I was even just the top of a hair on her leg. She was huge. And she came into me and I was able to ride that feeling of terror to the dissolution of it. And then what I realized was that she was there to show me information, and she was there as a gift from Mother Aya for me to be able to see what it was that Grandmother Spider Woman was doing. And through the course of that whole first night ceremony, like 10 hours, what she showed me in turn was her weaving the plasma of the universe, the fabric of the universe into existence. So she was weaving that plasma into gossamer thread, and then the gossamer thread, different colors of light, into universes, into galaxies, into solar systems. I, over the course of 10 hours, saw the beginning and the ending of thousands and thousands and thousands of solar systems and galaxies. So, yeah, I'm just going to stop there until you have another question, because I could go on for a long time. I could share that whole experience with you. I'm just going to let you ask a question.
Oh, I love it. I love this so much. Thank you for sharing that. I love hearing about Grandmother Spider, and the fact that you had experience with her, that's just amazing.
So I do want to say that as a kid, as a child, I had incredible arachnophobia.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible arachnophobia, and it took me well into my 20s to overcome that, and I had to do it in therapy.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
Um,
this was a big deal for you.
it was a huge deal.
Yeah.
And um, as a child, I would frequent the house that I grew up in was infested with spiders, infested. And so in the summers, spring, summer, fall, I would mostly wake up with like 4 or 5 spiders on my ceiling above my bed. And I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. And when I was a teenager, it's funny because my sister ended up marrying somebody who had a pest control business, and he used to make fun of me because of my fear of spiders until the day he came over to treat the house because we had what's that siding called? We had the original siding removed, and then the house, there was a renovation where we were expanding because my mom's parents were going to be moving in with us. And the siding went from that original like clay ceramic siding. It became that fake plastic. What's that?
I thought it was vinyl
I forget
siding.
what it's called, but it's hollow, right? It's just the shape of the siding, and then inside it's hollow. Well, they had nests in all of the hollow spaces. So when he came with his canisters to spray in the backyard, so the experience was, there were steps going up my house, and I would have to like I would I would just like have to ground and breathe to be able to like zip, get my key out, be ready to unlock the door and get into the house, because generally speaking, while you were unlocking the door, a spider or two would fall on you. And getting in the house was a big, like, it was just like, it freaked me out. So he made fun of me, and I remembered coming home and there being like that, the front being cleared of spiders, and we used to have to wash the house because it was so covered in webs and spider poop. And I walked in the house, and he was sitting on the couch. My mom was bringing him coffee. He was sitting on the couch, and he was just like, Ingrid, I had no idea. I had no idea. And I was like, what's up? And he said, I dropped my canisters and screamed and ran like a little girl. He said, I have never seen that many. He said, when I started spraying, they came running towards him, and they were multiple types of spiders. He said, those spiders don't normally nest together. It was like multiple condominiums of spiders coming to stop him from spraying. And it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I comprehended that I was under and what I comprehended through dream work and through therapy, through dream work, and the spiders coming and sharing information with me, that's how much protection I needed. That they were there to protect me and to hold me and to weave protection around me, because I was under so much psychic assault as a child, and I was battling demons that I could see and hear, as a child, that even though they created loosh, right, that beings were feeding off of, they were there to protect me. And when I learned that, that shifted my feeling about spiders, but that wasn't until my mid 20s. It shifted dramatically my feeling about spiders, and comprehending, you know, the amazing beauty that they hold and what they are capable of. Even though I believe on a psychic level, I recall doing battle with spider beings, doing intergalactic battle with spider beings, and
Wow, out
being
there.
consumed. So it was a lot to go through to get to the place where I was actually weaving with Grandmother Spider Woman. It was amazing. The experience was absolutely amazing.
May I ask you one more quick question? Did she mention anything about a fifth gift that she might be bringing to us?
That I might be bringing.
Our grandmother spider might be bringing in, because each time a new world, restarts here, it brings in a new gift.
She was showing me a history because I went in asking why. She was showing me why. She was showing me what happened. And I for much of the journey, I experienced it as if it was my experience. I don't know whether that is true or not. I don't want to claim that that was my experience, my consciousness recalling past lives or that level of information, but I was able to see it and perhaps comprehend it differently from being able to see out of the eyes of people who did live that experience. And so I saw the beginning and end, the destruction of thousands and thousands of civilizations. I saw myself, again, don't know if it was me or if I was just perceiving what was happening, but using my body to breed hybrids, being a high priestess, working in temples, having amazing healing gifts that were being used. I just, and then periodically the shaman would come back and he would say, "Now do you understand?" And I was sobbing, saying, "No, this is not good enough. This is not okay. It needs to end. It needs to stop. No, 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 it's not okay. I don't care. This is not an answer to why. This is what, and it's making me more upset."
Oh,
So, so, but that would then prove really important for a future ceremony that I had, that I shared in the video, in the last video I think that you guys saw around the information that came to me about how many times I had given up my free will because I believed the lies
right.
that I was being told, and that there was another consciousness invading my body that was taking over. And I think that that is the case with many, many, many people. It was not something that I was aware of. And again, I don't know if it's metaphoric for me. I don't know if it's a personal experience, and that doesn't actually even matter to me. What matters to me is the gem of information that I gleaned from that experience. And what I gleaned from that experience was reclaiming my personal power. So,
Wow. Well, thank you
mm,
for sharing that. It's beautiful.
sure. But she didn't like talk to me.
Okay.
I
She
just
just,
saw what she was doing
okay.
and helped
And
her.
Terry, you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, yeah, I'm just going to ask a quick question about that. So when you encountered this beautiful spider being, right?
Mm.
And you had um this fear, like how did, when that appeared to you, I know you said you kind of, you wrote it and you tried to face it, but becoming that, like part, being witness to that, how did that change your perception of, yeah, of the spider? But did it, I'm not sure, how long ago did you have this experience? Was it already after you had been working with the fear of the spiders and had come to a realization, okay,
Yes,
so
yes.
so when she came, and do you think that it's been my experience, but that a lot of the spider energy has been hijacked by beings or aspects of non, yeah, parts that don't really have the mass, that are self-serving. Let me put it that
Yeah,
way.
I mean, I think within any group, there's the potential for amazing light and amazing non-light, right? There's the potential for any being to remember itself and then forget itself, forget its true origin, because we all come from eternal life. We all come from the eternal divine. And so if there is a way to say, like, okay, in this lifetime, no more of that heinous, no more, like, even if it's just because, like, we've all been working, we've all been warriors for so long, cycle upon cycle, and some of us are actively still being warriors in other dimensions, right? The other parts of ourselves that are active in the dimensions that most people can't see. And so we are incredibly busy. The reason that we're all so tired is not just because of the, the massive spikes in the Schumann resonance and the solar flares that are coming off. It's not just that DNA upgrade. It's all together. We're remembering, we're feeling our tired across multiple dimensions. And remembering that we are all tapped into infinite energy and infinite life force energy. So each and every time that we feel like we can't go on, we can take a deep breath and rejuvenate ourselves with that life force energy. So I'm forgetting your question now. I'm sorry.
No, no, I think you kind of answered it. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
Well, you want to repeat the question just in case so she understands? I can't remember.
Well, I was formulating, but no, I was just wondering whether the spider energy may have been
negative, positive.
hijacked by nefarious forces. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, each and every one of us. I mean, each and every one of us. I don't know. I know very, very few people who have had a straight line to ascension, right? We have all played, like, Thich Nhat Hanh's book, Call Me by My True Names. We have all played and worn many, many faces and experiences, some of them wonderful, some of them horrific, some of them what we would term evil, others of them what we would term angelic. I think the more that we have had these experiences and still come to the realization that we are all connected, the stronger we all become. My computer is just about to run out of battery. Hang on one second. So
how are you doing on time, Ingrid?
So it's almost noon, and I have a little bit longer. I don't have to go at noon. I just wanted to give myself a buffer because I have an interpreting job. I just am gonna need to, eat an apple or something, but I'm good if you have any more questions.
Wow.
Anything else I can answer or ponder with you?
There was the issue of the reptile queen. And finding people or coming into contact with people who are dealing with entity attachments.
Yeah.
Marvel, I don't know how much further you can take this, but dealing with people we know that have entity attachments that have given over their power to these type of entities. What would you say as far as like a person redeeming themselves or reclaiming their selves? Because I feel like that person at the time when they're being occupied like this and have given over their power, they really don't have the desire to let that go. They really don't have the desire, like, I think a lot of on the outside, you as a friend or a person witnessing this may want to fix it or help them or save them. But I really wondered if that person doesn't know that they're captive and they're living in this energy, what can you do about that? Like, and how does that person get out of that? I mean, I really feel like it's going to be up to them to decide if they get tired, but I really wanted to know what your thoughts were on it because you were able to fight that battle.
In that instance. Yeah, I mean, I someone once shared with me that energetic attachments oftentimes, so they come in when we're unconscious, right? Oftentimes they come in when we're using substances, right? That's why they call them spirits. or when we are leaving our bodies, right? And this for me is the difference between astral projection and remote viewing. In one instance, you're leaving your body. In another instance, you're not. You're allowing your consciousness to access the Akash and to see. And then time space sort of become irrelevant. It becomes something that you can control easily. But the idea that many people experienced, and this is I find this also in, when I do biofield tuning, I'm working through a timeline, and there are times when beings are incredibly light. So most of us have come in to do starseed work. We've come in to help with the ascension. We've come in to help human beings become more conscious. We've come in because we have unique gifts. But because we've come in with so much ability and so much light, our light can be seen. When we're young, our light can be seen. And many of us have experienced attempts from fourth and fifth dimensional beings in conjunction with the humans and the beings that are here in the third dimension, working together to kind of snuff out that light and make things go awry. Sometimes it works just because of circumstance, when a family, because of a family that may be dealing with unique things and they have turned to self-medicating with alcohol or drugs, and then that takes them over, and there are energetic attachments that have gotten in that way. But oftentimes when we're children, when we're abused, my understanding of it, I'm happy to be open to other perspectives. I don't have all the answers. I don't have the truth. I have my truth, and based on my experience. But I'm always learning and growing, and hopefully able to change my mind about something when I get more information presented to me. So far, my understanding is that when we're incredibly traumatized, right? When perhaps our parents are, I grew up in the 70s. If, I had friends that were, or around adults who were using a lot of alcohol and were then open to being taken over, and in that takeover, they then abused their children, or they abused children in their vicinity. And then those children are so traumatized that there is a part of that consciousness that comes in. There's also a part of the consciousness of the person, the human who has done that, right? That part of them, oftentimes when I'm doing biofield tuning, what I come across is, when the forks are shrieking because they're finding such high incoherence, that the images that I get are literally around those beings being stuck there because of that story, because of their participation in a soul that chose to come in to experience certain things for growth and experience. They're now intertwined at that intersection. And in this time period where frequencies are raising so high, that incoherence, that part of their souls, that part of their consciousness wants release. It wants to return to source. It wants to be forgiven and let go. It wants to go back. It wants to feel better. It doesn't want to participate in that endless loop and cycle of trauma. It has to re-experience what it's done. That's excruciating. And so to remember now that there are so many people who have been so violated and abused in many ways for whatever reason, and that there are bits and pieces of consciousnesses that came in, and perhaps they came in at that time because there was a consciousness around going, I can protect you, I can make you strong. And so it came in as a defense mechanism, as a helper, and then it went awry because it never let go. It never transformed. It kept that story going. So that individual now is working with that consciousness almost as a part of itself, instead of healing that wound, releasing those consciousnesses to go back to themselves, to go back to source. So for me, when I see someone who is expressing a frequency or a resonance that doesn't feel good to me, that feels like, oh God, oh, that's heavy, or oh, I don't want to go there. You know, yes, you can walk away. That's a choice. Another choice is to do Ho'oponopono, because this is all of our trauma. This is all of our trauma, and I don't have to be reactive. I don't have to take it on. I don't have to rescue. I don't have to do anything but recognize that this is an individual that doesn't feel good. This is an individual that is trying to figure out how to get it out, that is experiencing something that doesn't feel good. So by my choice, right? Because I have in that moment a lot of choices. If I feel like I need to protect myself, I'm going to walk away to protect myself. But if I feel like I can be there and I can hold space for somebody else to figure it out, because the less reactive I am, the more they're going to be able to figure out their own stuff. But it becomes more entwined and more convoluted when I have to, like, when I react and then they're reacting to my reaction, and then it just builds on itself, and then it ends up being a rejection of one another.